This interrelationship between Czechs, Germans, with the added complications you mentioned, including the German-speaking Jewish population. We've got this tragic history for much of the 20th century. But, if we come again to the present now, the Czech Republic, Germany, both countries are firmly embedded within the European Union, right? So has this resolved their national tensions?
The Czech Republic and Germany have very, very good relations. They're very close. There are no outstanding problems at the moment on a larger scale. And there are many reasons for that. One of them is the simple fact of borders having opened, and suddenly there's far more interaction, there's far more understanding, recognition of the similarities as well as the differences between the two nations, or you could say more than two nations, because of course there's also the German-speaking Austria as well to the south. But obviously there is the trauma of the past. Yeah. It's there. There are always tensions which can bubble to the surface, and they do every now and then. Politicians on both sides occasionally will take advantage of those national sensitivities, quite often without justification, sometimes with an element of justification. The fact that the Czech Republic and Germany in 1997 signed a declaration of friendly relations between the two countries I was quite surprised it was of more than just symbolic significance. It really did move things on, because there were things that lingered from the past. There was the lingering question of the Sudeten Germans and the Germans who were expelled from Czechoslovakia.
The Beneš decrees.
Yes, the Beneš decrees, the Germans who were expelled after the Second World War, who lost their citizenship, their property. It was always a lingering problem. It's still there under the surface, but it's not really a major issue. And there is also, for the first time, and I'm very pleased to see this, in the Czech Republic itself, there is a growing openness and an interest in the German part of the country's history. And young people, there's been a lot of literature, a lot of books written about it in the last few years. Young people are often sort of interested in who used to live in the town I live in, people who live in the formerly German towns on the borderlands. And that's, I think, a very healthy process.
Yes.
There's still, I think, a slight tendency in Germany to look down a little bit on the Czechs and the Slovaks as a post-communist nation. I'm talking particularly about West Germany. There's still that label which Czechs find a bit annoying, and I think justifiably they find it a bit annoying. It's also always the question of bigger nations and smaller nations, and there's always going to be that tension. One thing I would like to stress is that just because Czech-German relations are currently very good, it doesn't mean that there aren't underlying problems, and that there aren't underlying tensions in both countries, and things, resentments that can, under certain circumstances, re-emerge. I mean, I can imagine a situation, for example, imagine if Volkswagen, which currently owns the main Czech car maker, Škoda, imagine if they were to get into difficulty and they faced a dilemma. Do we close down a factory in Germany or in the Czech Republic? And they decided to close down a factory in the Czech Republic. Just imagine the sentiment that could emerge from an economic decision like that. Imagine the pressures that Volkswagen would be under not to close the factory in Germany. Imagine the trauma that would emerge in this country if that factory were to be closed down here and there were to be thousands of Czechs left unemployed because of a German employer. These are dangers, these are things that both countries really need to think about as potential dangers. Where are these fault lines where things can go wrong again?
I suppose to take a different example, we saw in the Euro crisis between Germany and Greece how, something that's an economic problem, conflict, right, that very easily, right, the wounds of World War II come up. Right?
Exactly.